In the far future, humanity has spread across many stars. Colonies shine like small lights in the dark sea of space. People travel between worlds with ease, and great ships carry them farther than ever before. But there is one rule that every pilot knows, one border that no one crosses. It is called the line. It marks the end of human space. Beyond that line, there is only silence. No signals, no light, no life. No one knows what lies beyond, and no one dares to find out. Captain Ethan Cole had always wondered about the line. He had seen it on every star map since his days as a cadet. It was drawn in bright red, a warning more than a marker. He had heard stories about ships that tried to cross it, and how none ever returned. Yet, he never stopped thinking about what could be there. Was it emptiness? Was it danger? Or was it something that humans simply were not meant to see? Ethan commanded the exploration ship Aurora, a mid-sized vessel built for deep space research. The Aurora had a small but loyal crew, each one chosen for their skill and calm under pressure. Lieutenant Nora Blake was his communications officer, always focused, always careful. Liam Hart, the ship's engineer, could fix almost anything. Together, they had traveled to the edge of known space many times, but never beyond. Today, as they floated near the border, the line shimmered faintly on the ship's main screen, reminding them of where human courage ended. The stars beyond the line looked strange, dimmer somehow, as if space itself swallowed their light. Ethan watched them quietly from the bridge, his hand resting on the console. "Do you ever wonder what's out there?" he asked softly. Nora looked up from her station and gave a nervous smile. "I try not to," she said. "We're not supposed to." Liam chuckled from his seat near the power controls. "You sound like a school teacher, Nora. Come on, you don't get curious at all?" She sighed and shrugged. "Curious, yes. Stupid, no. You've heard the stories. And there were many stories. Tales told in bars on far colonies, whispered by traders and captains. Some said there were creatures beyond the line, things that lived in the dark between galaxies. Others said it was a wall, built by ancient beings to keep something out or to keep something in. Some even believed it was the place where space itself ended, where reality stopped existing. No one knew the truth, and no one had ever come back to tell it. Ethan had read all the reports. The official ones were short and careful. They spoke of lost signals, failed engines, ships that drifted and vanished. The unofficial ones were worse. There were recordings full of static and voices that should not have been there. Even listening to them gave him chills. Still, something in him wanted to know. It was not greed or fame. It was something older, something human, the need to understand what lies beyond. The Aurora's sensors hummed softly, reading data from the border. The instruments showed nothing unusual. Space was calm. Yet, Ethan could not shake the feeling that something was watching. He leaned closer to the screen. "Increase scan range," he ordered quietly. Nora nodded, tapping a few keys. The display shifted, showing a deeper field beyond the line. All it showed was emptiness. "Nothing," she said after a moment. "Same as always." Ethan nodded slowly. "And yet we keep checking," he murmured. Liam smirked. "That's what explorers do, Captain. We look where we're not supposed to." Ethan gave him a small grin. "Maybe, but there's a difference between brave and foolish." For a long moment, they sat in silence, watching the distant stars. Outside, the void seemed to stretch forever. Then, a faint pulse appeared on the edge of the radar. It was weak and irregular, like a heartbeat fading in the dark. "What's that?" Nora asked, frowning. She adjusted the signal filters. It's coming from beyond the line." Liam turned sharply. "That can't be right. There's nothing out there." Ethan leaned forward, eyes narrowing. "Is it a distress signal?" Nora hesitated. "I don't know. It's broken, old, but it's definitely artificial." The bridge fell silent again. They could hear the soft hum of the ship's engines, the quiet ticking of instruments. Beyond the window, the stars seemed to wait. Ethan finally spoke. "Record it. Don't respond yet." He stood up and walked closer to the viewing glass, staring into the silent dark. His reflection looked back at him, tired but curious. He could feel the weight of the unknown pressing on him. Every rule, every order told him to stay away. But deep inside, he already knew that he would not. As the signal pulsed again, softer this time, the captain of the Aurora made his decision. Somewhere beyond human space, something was calling. And Ethan Cole was going to find out why. The Aurora drifted near the edge of the line, its engines humming quietly. The crew could feel the tension in the air. Everyone on board knew they were not supposed to cross the border. The rules were clear. No ship should go beyond human space. Still, the strange signal from the void would not stop. It pulsed again, faint and distant, like a whisper that refused to fade. Captain Ethan Cole stood on the bridge, staring at the screen where the signal blinked slowly. "How long has it been repeating?" Ethan asked, keeping his voice calm. "Almost 3 hours now," said Lieutenant Nora Blake. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls as she tried to clean the signal. "It's steady, Captain, but it's old. The frequency isn't used anymore. Can you tell what kind of message it is?" Ethan leaned closer, his brow furrowed. "Not exactly. It's not a distress code, at least not a modern one. But the pattern looks human," Nora replied. She hesitated for a second. "It's definitely not alien." Liam Hart, the ship's engineer, looked up from his station. "So a human ship sent that? But how? No one's been past the line in centuries. It doesn't make sense." Ethan didn't answer. He watched the signal blink once more. Deep down, he knew what the others were thinking. If it was a human signal, then it could mean that someone somehow had survived beyond the border. Or it could mean something much worse. He turned toward the helm. "Set a course toward the signal. Nice and slow. Keep us just inside the line." Nora's head snapped up. "Captain, you're not seriously thinking of going closer, are you? We're already too near. If command finds out." "They won't find out if we're careful," Ethan said quietly. "We just need to take a look. If it's an old probe or wreck, we'll record it and turn back." Liam gave a small grin. "That's the spirit, Captain. Curiosity hasn't killed us yet." Nora frowned but obeyed the order. She entered the new course, and the Aurora began to move slowly toward the edge. The stars outside seemed to dim even more as they approached the invisible line. The scanners flickered for a moment, then steadied. Every sound in the ship felt louder now, the hum of the engines, the soft clicks of the controls, even their own breathing. A few minutes later, Nora spoke again. "We're receiving more data, Captain. I think the signal source is about 2 million kilometers beyond the line. It's small, maybe the size of a shuttle." "A shuttle? That far out?" Liam muttered. Someone really wanted to disappear. Ethan studied the readings. The coordinates were precise, but there was something strange. The signal didn't just come from one point. It seemed to echo, as if bouncing between unseen walls of space. The pattern wasn't natural. He felt a cold shiver run through him. "Increase magnification," he ordered. The screen adjusted, showing a faint shape far ahead. It was barely visible against the darkness, a shadow among shadows. But it was there. "That's no rock," Liam said. "That's a ship." Nora's voice dropped to a whisper. "And it's human. The design looks old, maybe 200 years old. It's not in any database." For a long time, no one spoke. The Aurora drifted closer, inch by inch. Every part of the crew felt the same mixture of fear and curiosity. Ethan's heart beat faster, though he tried not to show it. "Can you hail them?" he asked. "I can try," Nora said. She opened a communication channel and sent a signal. There was no reply. She tried again. Still nothing. Only static filled the air. Liam looked uneasy now. "Maybe we should back off. This feels wrong." Ethan shook his head. "Not yet. Bring us to a full stop. Let's scan the area again." As the Aurora halted near the border, the signal changed. It grew louder, clearer, and then a voice came through, broken, distorted, but human. "Help! They're gone. Don't open it." The bridge fell silent. Nora's eyes widened. "Did you hear that? It's a human voice. Play it again." Ethan said quickly. She replayed the message, but this time only static came through. The voice was gone. That was recorded, Liam said slowly. Someone left that message behind. Ethan felt a chill settle deep in his chest. He stared at the dark shape on the screen, the old ship waiting in the void, the source of the forgotten signal. Beyond it, there was nothing but silence. He finally spoke. "Prepare a boarding team. We're gonna find out what happened out there." Nora hesitated. "Captain, that's beyond the line. If we cross it—" "I know," Ethan said quietly. "But someone sent that message. And if there's even a chance someone needs help, we can't turn away." The Aurora's engines began to warm up again. Slowly, carefully, it crossed the invisible border that no ship had dared to pass for generations. The stars beyond seemed to fade even more, swallowed by a deep, endless dark. The signal pulsed once more, like a heartbeat calling them forward, as the Aurora slipped beyond human space. As the Aurora drifted past the line, the light from the nearby stars began to fade. It wasn't sudden. It was slow, like someone turning down a dimmer switch. The darkness outside the windows felt heavier than normal space, as if it were thick and alive. No one on board said a word for several minutes. The hum of the engines was the only sound. Captain Ethan Cole stood at the center of the bridge, watching the readings on the screen. Every number looked strange. The scanners picked up something ahead, but they couldn't tell what it was. "Status report," Ethan said quietly. "System stable for now," said Liam Hart, though his voice carried a nervous edge. "But the power fluctuations are weird. It's like space itself is draining energy." Nora Blake sat at the communication console, eyes fixed on the faint signal. "The transmission is getting stronger as we get closer. It's still distorted, but it's definitely human. I think the source is less than 100,000 kilometers away." "Keep us steady," Ethan said. "Don't go too fast." As they moved closer, the shape of the old ship became clearer. It was large, much bigger than a shuttle, closer to an old exploration vessel. Its hull was scarred and blackened, parts of it twisted as though something had melted the metal. No lights shone from its windows. It drifted silently, turning slowly in the emptiness. Liam leaned forward, eyes wide. "That thing's ancient. Looks like it's been out here for centuries." Nora ran another scan. "No power readings. Life support's dead. I can't find any heat signatures either." She paused, frowning. "But there's something strange. The energy field around it isn't normal. It's like the space around the ship is bending." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Explain." "It's hard to describe," Nora said. "The readings don't make sense. The ship's mass keeps changing slightly, like it's phasing in and out of existence." Liam shook his head. "That's impossible." Ethan didn't reply. He watched the wreck spin slowly, its nameplate coming into view. The letters were faded, but he could still make them out. The Horizon. He'd never heard of it. No record in the fleet archives mentioned a ship by that name. "Send out a probe," Ethan ordered. "Let's see if it's safe to approach." Nora launched a small drone. It floated away from the Aurora, blinking faintly as it approached the derelict ship. For a moment, everything seemed fine. Then, without warning, the signal from the probe cut off. The screen went blank. Liam cursed under his breath. "It's gone. Completely gone." "What happened?" Ethan asked. "No explosion, no impact," Liam said, checking his instruments. "It's like it just vanished. 1 second it was there, and then it wasn't." The silence that followed felt heavier than before. Even the steady hum of the Aurora seemed quieter. Ethan stared at the horizon drifting in the dark, its black hull reflecting no light at all. "Captain," Nora said softly, "maybe we should pull back. Whatever happened to that ship? It's not natural." Ethan didn't move. "Someone sent that message. Someone was on that ship once. We owe it to them to find out what happened." He turned toward her. "Prepare the shuttle. We're going in." Nora looked uncertain, but she nodded. "Yes, Captain." Within an hour, Ethan, Nora, and Liam were suited up and ready. The small shuttle detached from the aurora and drifted toward the horizon. As they got closer, the sense of unease grew stronger. The darkness outside seemed thicker, and their lights barely reached beyond the glass. Every so often, their sensors glitched, showing shapes that disappeared as soon as they looked again. "This place feels wrong," Liam muttered. "Like the laws of physics don't apply." "Stay focused," Ethan said. "We're just going to check for survivors or data logs. Then we'll head back." They docked the shuttle at the old ship's airlock. The doors groaned as they opened, the sound echoing faintly through the comms. Inside, the corridors were dark and covered with frost. The walls looked burned in some places and melted in others. Floating debris drifted through the air, tools, papers, pieces of equipment. Everything felt untouched for a very long time. Nora's voice came through softly. "No power readings anywhere. I'll try to access the main computer if we can reach the bridge." "Let's move," Ethan said. They made their way through the empty corridors. The sound of their boots against the metal floor echoed strangely, like the ship was hollow inside. Every so often, they saw strange patterns on the walls, thin black lines that looked like cracks but moved slightly when they looked away. Liam stopped and pointed at one. "Did that just move?" "Ignore it," Ethan said quickly. "Keep going." Finally, they reached the bridge. The room was frozen and silent, the consoles dead. A single chair floated in the center, still strapped with an empty suit. Whoever had been there was gone. Nora moved to one of the consoles and connected her device. "I can still access some of the data. It's corrupted, but there's a log entry." She played it. The voice that filled their helmets was faint and distorted. "We found it beyond the border. It's not space. It's alive." Then only static. Ethan and Liam exchanged glances. Nora looked pale. Whatever they found, it wasn't just emptiness. "Download everything you can," Ethan ordered. "Then we're getting out of here." As she worked, the lights in the room flickered for the first time. The floor trembled slightly, and the black cracks on the walls began to spread. "Captain," Liam said, his voice tense, "we need to leave. Now." Ethan nodded, eyes fixed on the growing darkness crawling along the metal walls. "Move, fast." They ran back through the corridor, their flashlights cutting through the shadows. Behind them, the black lines pulsed like veins, spreading toward them. Whatever it was waking up, and it had noticed them. The sound of their boots echoed through the empty corridors as Ethan, Nora, and Liam hurried back toward the shuttle. The ship creaked and groaned around them, like something ancient was shifting in the dark. The faint light from their helmets flickered on the walls, revealing the strange black veins still crawling through the metal. They moved slowly but with growing fear, trying not to look too closely at the shapes that seemed to move just beyond their lights. "It's spreading faster," Liam said, glancing over his shoulder. "Whatever this is, it's alive." "Keep moving," Ethan ordered. "We just need to reach the airlock." Nora clutched the data pad tightly against her chest. "I got all the logs I could, but most of them are corrupted. There's something in the recordings about an experiment, and about a doorway." "Doorway?" Ethan asked. "What kind of doorway?" Nora shook her head. "It doesn't say. Just that they found it beyond the border and tried to open it. After that, all records stop." They reached a junction where the corridor split in two. Ethan paused to check the direction. The air felt colder now, and a strange low hum filled the air, almost like a heartbeat. The walls around them began to vibrate softly. "Captain," Liam whispered, "this ship isn't just falling apart. It's waking up." Ethan didn't want to believe it, but deep inside he felt it too. There was something aware here, something watching them. "Right path," he said quickly. "That leads back to the shuttle." They turned down the right corridor, their footsteps quickening. The black veins on the walls were pulsing now, glowing faintly with a dull red light. When Nora brushed against one, it twitched like a living thing. She gasped and jumped back. "It's reacting to us." "Don't touch it," Ethan said sharply. "Keep going." As they reached the airlock, the lights above flickered violently. The doors of the shuttle were still open, but the docking clamps were coated with the same black growth, holding it tight like roots around a tree. Liam swore under his breath. It's trying to trap us here. Ethan pulled out his sidearm, though he knew it wouldn't help much. Can you cut it loose? Liam dropped to his knees and began working on the controls. Sparks flew as he tried to override the docking system. Give me a minute. Nora turned toward the corridor behind them. The red light was getting brighter. Deep within the ship, something was moving. Slow, heavy, and close. She could feel it like a pressure against her chest. Captain, she said softly. Something's coming. Ethan looked back. In the distance, the corridor seemed to twist and bend. The black veins were gathering together, forming a single shape that began to move toward them. It didn't have a clear form, just darkness taking shape, pulling itself forward. Liam, Ethan shouted. Now. Almost there, done, Liam yelled back. He hit the release control and the clamps burst open. The growth recoiled like it had been burned. Everyone inside, Ethan ordered. They jumped into the shuttle and sealed the door behind them. The airlock closed just as the dark mass reached it, slamming into the metal with a dull thud. Undock now, Ethan shouted. Liam fired the thrusters. The shuttle jerked away from the old ship, spinning slightly as it pulled free. Outside the window, they saw the horizon tremble. The black veins spread across its surface, pulsing faster and faster. Then, as they drifted away, the ship began to collapse inward on itself, folding and twisting like paper. What's happening to it? Nora whispered. I don't know, Ethan said, staring in awe. But we're not staying to find out. As the shuttle sped back toward the Aurora, the old ship vanished into the dark. It didn't explode or break apart. It simply disappeared, like it had never been there. The space where it had drifted was now completely black, darker than the rest of space. Liam looked pale. It's gone, like it got swallowed. Captain, Nora said quietly, what if that's what happened to the others? The ones who crossed before us? Ethan didn't answer. He was still watching the scanners. For a brief moment, he saw something move inside the black void where the ship had vanished. A flicker, like an eye opening. They reached the Aurora and docked safely. The rest of the crew helped them aboard, relief washing over everyone. Nora immediately began transferring the recovered data to the main computer, while Liam checked for any signs of contamination or damage. Captain, Liam said after a few minutes, the readings from the shuttle are strange. There's residual energy we can't identify. It's not radiation, not electrical. It's something else. Ethan frowned. Keep the shuttle sealed until we know what it is. He turned to Nora. See if you can recover more from those logs. We need to know what they found beyond the line. Nora nodded. I'll do my best. Ethan stood at the window looking out at the stars. The border of human space was behind them now, faint but visible on the radar. Beyond it, the darkness stretched endlessly. As he watched, the faint pulse of the signal returned for just a second, one final heartbeat from the void, before fading completely. For the first time, Ethan felt truly afraid. Whatever they had awakened out there, it was still alive, and it knew they had crossed the line. The Aurora floated quietly in the dark, its lights glowing faintly against the endless void. Everyone on board felt uneasy. The silence outside was too deep, too heavy. Captain Ethan Cole stood on the bridge, staring at the readings from the shuttle. The numbers made no sense. The strange energy that had clung to the shuttle wasn't fading. It was spreading. Any changes? He asked quietly. The readings are stable but still there, Liam said. He looked tired, his face pale under the blue lights of the control room. Whatever it is, it's merging with our systems. The scanners can't identify it. It's like it doesn't exist in our space. Nora was sitting at her console, eyes fixed on the data from the Horizon's logs. I managed to recover more files, she said softly. It looks like the crew of that ship was experimenting with a field they called the threshold. They believed it was a barrier between known space and something else. Something else? Ethan repeated. Like another dimension? Maybe, Nora said. But the recordings say they tried to open it. They thought it was an energy field that could lead to faster travel or unlimited power. Instead, it opened into darkness. After that, their logs become strange. They talk about the ship changing shape, about hearing voices. Liam frowned. Voices? You mean like hallucinations? Nora hesitated. I don't think so. One of the last entries said, "It wants to understand us." A long silence followed. The hum of the Aurora's engines filled the space between their words. Ethan finally spoke. "Run a deep systems check. I want to make sure that whatever energy came back with us isn't affecting the ship." "Already on it," Liam said. "But if this thing's not physical, I'm not sure how to contain it." Every hour that passed, the Aurora grew quieter. The crew spoke less. It was as if the silence outside was seeping in. Sometimes they heard faint sounds in the static, soft whispers when the communications were off. The lights flickered without warning. Objects moved slightly when no one was near them. Nora barely slept. She kept listening to the distorted voice recording they had recovered. The more she listened, the more she thought she could hear something beneath the static. Something speaking her name. She didn't tell Ethan. She didn't want to believe it herself. In the engineering bay, Liam worked to isolate the strange energy readings. He placed one of the contaminated power cells in a sealed chamber and began testing it. The cell pulsed softly with a dull red glow. He connected it to the scanner and started the analysis. At first, the data looked random, shifting waves of light and heat. But as he watched, the patterns began to form shapes, almost like symbols. Then, without warning, the screen went black. A moment later, words appeared across it. "We see you." Liam froze. His hands trembled slightly. "What the hell?" he whispered. He tried to shut down the system, but it didn't respond. Instead, the words changed. "Why did you open the door again?" "Captain!" Liam shouted through the comm. "You need to see this." Ethan and Nora arrived a minute later. The message was still on the screen, glowing faintly. "It's communicating?" Ethan asked. "It's using our systems," Liam said. "It's like it's inside the ship's network." "Can we isolate it?" Ethan asked quickly. "I'm trying," Liam replied, typing fast. But the lights flickered again, and the message vanished. The room went dark for a second before the systems restarted. Nora's voice was shaky. "Captain, this isn't just energy. It's intelligent." Ethan clenched his jaw. "Whatever it is, it's not staying on my ship. Prepare to eject the contaminated shuttle." Liam nodded. "On it." As they made their way back to the shuttle bay, the lights dimmed once more. The hum of the engines faltered, and for a few seconds the ship went completely silent. Then, from somewhere deep within the Aurora, came a sound. It was faint at first, a low, rhythmic pulse, like a heartbeat echoing through the hull. Nora stopped walking. "Captain, that sound. It's the same pattern as the signal." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Get to the control room. Now." They ran back to the bridge. The main screen flickered to life, showing a field of stars. But the stars were fading, replaced by the same black void they had seen beyond the line. The ship sensors went wild, readings jumping between impossible values. "The energy's expanding," Liam shouted. "It's spreading through the ship." Ethan grabbed the console. "Eject the shuttle now." Liam hit the command. The shuttle was released from the docking bay and drifted into the dark. For a moment, everything went still. Then the shuttle's lights began to glow red. It twisted unnaturally, like something inside was alive. And then it was gone, erased from every sensor, every radar, every trace. Nora's voice was barely a whisper. "It followed us back." Ethan stared at the empty screen. The silence outside was complete again, but it felt different now, closer, heavier. It wasn't just the void anymore. It was something within it, something aware. He turned to his crew. "No one leaves the ship alone. Keep every system under manual control. And if it tries to talk again..." He paused, his eyes dark and steady. "Don't answer." The Aurora drifted in the dark, surrounded by the endless black. For 2 days, the crew worked to stabilize the ship. Systems flickered, Lights dimmed, and every sound echoed louder than it should have. The silence beyond human space was no longer just outside. It felt like it had entered the ship. Captain Ethan Cole barely slept. He stood on the bridge most nights, staring at the blank screen filled with static. Sometimes the static seemed to move, forming faint shapes that disappeared when he blinked. He told himself it was just fatigue, but deep down he knew something was watching. Nora sat in the lab, her eyes red from lack of sleep. She had been analyzing the last fragments of data from the shuttle before it vanished. Every time she played the final seconds, the same sound returned. A faint pulse, like a heartbeat, mixed with whispers she couldn't quite understand. Liam worked in engineering, running diagnostics again and again. He was sure the ship was being affected by an outside force. The power fluctuations, the strange magnetic fields, even the temperature changes, it all pointed to something alive. "Captain?" Liam's voice crackled over the comm. "You should see this." Ethan made his way down to engineering. The room was dim, lit only by the glow of control panels. Liam stood by a console, his hands shaking slightly. "Look at this reading," he said. "The ship's internal systems are syncing with something outside. Every time our engines pulse, there's a return signal, like an echo." "An echo from what?" Ethan asked. Liam swallowed. "From the void." They stared at the data. The readings weren't random, they were rhythmic, intelligent. As if something out there was learning from the aurora. "Could it be communication?" Ethan asked quietly. Nora entered, holding a small device. "I don't think it's trying to talk," she said. "I think it's trying to copy us." She placed the device on the console. It was a recorder. She played back a sound. First, it was just static. Then came a soft, distorted voice. "Ethan." Ethan froze. "That's my name." "Yes," Nora whispered. "And it's your voice." Liam stepped back. "It's imitating us." Before anyone could speak, the lights dimmed again. The engines hummed louder, and the walls vibrated slightly. From somewhere deep inside the ship, they heard it, the same rhythmic pulse as before, now stronger. It echoed like a heartbeat. "Bridge report," Ethan shouted. No answer. "Comm systems are dead," Liam said, checking the console. "We're isolated." Ethan moved toward the door, but it slid shut before he reached it. A cold breeze brushed past him, though there was no airflow. Then, a voice came through the intercom. Soft, distorted, and familiar. "We see you." Nora stepped back, her eyes wide. "That's not a recording. It's live." Liam tried to override the intercom, but the screen flashed with strange symbols. The same red glow from the shuttle logs flickered across the panels. The ship's temperature dropped several degrees. "Whatever it is," Ethan said, "it's inside the system." Suddenly, every screen in engineering lit up. Images flashed rapidly. Stars collapsing, ships breaking apart, faces screaming into the void. And then, a single phrase appeared on every monitor. "The threshold remains open." "Threshold?" Nora whispered. "That's what the horizon logs called the field. They opened it, and it never closed." "Can we close it?" Ethan asked. Liam shook his head. "I don't even know how to find it." The ship shuddered. Alarms flared across the bridge. Ethan ran toward the command deck, with Nora and Liam close behind. When they arrived, the main display was filled with static, but behind it, faint outlines of something massive moved in the dark. "Is that a ship?" Nora asked. "No," Ethan said slowly. "It's watching us." The outlines shifted, forming what looked like an enormous eye. The ship's lights flickered violently, and the sensors spiked. "Captain, it's pulling us in," Liam shouted. "Reverse thrusters," Ethan commanded. "They're not responding." The Aurora's hull groaned under the invisible pressure. The sound was deep and constant, like the heartbeat of a dying star. Nora clung to her console. "It's inside the gravity field. It's dragging us closer." "Cut power," Ethan ordered. "Shut everything down." Liam hesitated. "If we do, we'll lose life support." "Do it." Liam hit the switch. The lights went out. For a moment, everything was silent again. No hum, no power, no sound. Then, from the darkness, came the faint whisper. "You are not alone." Nora felt her chest tighten. "Captain, it's in here." Ethan's voice was steady but low. "Stay calm. Emergency lights only. No one speaks unless necessary." They waited. The emergency lights flickered back on, casting a dim red glow across the bridge. The screens were blank, but in the reflection of the glass, Ethan saw movement. Shadows that didn't belong to anyone in the room. "Liam," he said quietly, "get the engines back online. We're getting out of here." Liam nodded and rushed toward the access panel. He began restarting the system manually. The hum returned, faint but growing. Nora stood close to Ethan, whispering, "What if it doesn't let us leave?" Ethan didn't answer. He just stared into the void outside the window, where the faint outline of the massive eye had vanished, but he knew it wasn't gone. "Then," he said finally, "we make sure it remembers who we are." The Aurora floated through the darkness, its engines humming weakly. The crew was exhausted, their faces pale under the dim red emergency lights. Every sound seemed too loud, every shadow too long. It had been hours since the last contact with the unknown force, but the silence felt heavier than before. Captain Ethan Cole stood on the bridge, staring at the faint glimmer of human space far behind them. It looked so small now, just a cluster of stars swallowed by endless black. "How long until the engines stabilize?" he asked quietly. Liam wiped the sweat from his forehead. "They're running, but we're losing energy faster than we can replace it. Whatever that thing did, it's draining power from us." "Can we reverse it?" Ethan asked. "I don't know," Liam said. "It's not a physical leak. It's like the ship's life is being pulled away." Nora sat at her console, eyes fixed on a single screen filled with strange patterns. "The signal is still here," she murmured. "I think it's connected to us now." Ethan turned. "Connected how?" "Like a link," she said. "It's not attacking us anymore. It's listening." Liam frowned. "Listening to what?" "To us," Nora whispered. "To our thoughts." The room fell silent. Ethan felt a chill run down his spine. "That's not possible." Nora looked up at him. "It's not supposed to be. But when I was checking the communication logs, there were patterns matching our brainwave frequencies. It's copying our signals, our words, even our memories." Ethan stepped closer. "Are you saying it knows who we are?" Nora nodded slowly. "And it's learning." Liam slammed his hand on the console. "Then we have to cut it off before it becomes us." Ethan nodded. "Agreed. Options?" Nora hesitated. "There's one way. If we overload the core, it might sever the link. But it'll also fry half the ship's systems." "We'll deal with that later," Ethan said firmly. "Do it." Nora began typing commands. The hum of the engines grew louder. Lights flickered. The entire ship trembled. Ethan gripped the railing, his eyes fixed on the main screen. Outside, the stars shimmered faintly, then started to fade again, one by one. "Captain," Liam said, his voice shaking, "something's happening. It's reacting." On the screen, the blackness shifted. Shapes moved within it. Long, twisting forms, almost like tendrils made of light and shadow. They moved closer, wrapping around the Aurora like fog. Nora's console beeped. "It's trying to stop the overload." "Keep going," Ethan ordered. Suddenly, the lights went out. Total darkness filled the bridge. For a moment, no one breathed. Then a voice whispered through the dark. Not from the speakers, not from the intercom, from everywhere. "Why do you fear us?" Nora froze. "It's speaking again." Ethan stood still, forcing his voice to stay calm. "We don't fear you. You lie," the voice said, now echoing in multiple tones. Male, female, young, old. "You run from what you created." "What we created," Ethan repeated. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on. The image on the main screen had changed. No longer a void, now it showed a reflection of the Aurora itself, but broken, twisted, and surrounded by the same red glow that had consumed the shuttle. It's showing us, Nora whispered. But that's not us. Liam backed away from the screen. It's another aurora. No, Ethan said softly. It's a copy. The voice spoke again. You opened the door. You looked beyond yourselves. Now we look back. The reflection on the screen moved, its crew visible. But they weren't human anymore. Their faces were pale, their eyes black, their movements slow and unnatural. Nora gasped. Those are us. No, Ethan said sharply. It's trying to scare us. Liam shouted. Captain, the overload. It's reversing. Nora turned to her console. It's draining power again. It's taking control. Shut it down, Ethan ordered. She tried, but the controls didn't respond. The reflection on the screen smiled, its eyes locking onto Ethan's. You cannot close what is already open, it said. The aurora shook violently. Panels burst into sparks. The red light grew brighter, flooding every corner of the bridge. Liam, cut the power from the main line, Ethan shouted. Working on it? Liam pulled a lever, forcing the systems offline. The hum of the engines faded. Slowly, the red light dimmed. Nora fell to her knees, breathing hard. Did it work? Ethan looked around. The ship was quiet again. Too quiet. Liam's voice broke the silence. Captain, look outside. Ethan turned toward the main window. Outside, the stars had vanished completely. There was only darkness, and in that darkness, faint outlines of other ships began to appear. Dozens of them, maybe hundreds, floating silently. Their hulls were covered in the same red glow. Nora whispered, Are those human ships? Ethan stared. They were. As the glow grew brighter, a realization sank in. These were the ships that had gone missing beyond the line, centuries of explorers, lost without a trace. And now they had come back. Ethan whispered, Get us out of here. Now. Liam tried to restart the engines, but the controls didn't respond. The ship stayed still. Then, through the static, came the voice again, quiet, almost gentle. You opened the threshold. You belong to it now. The aurora was surrounded by silence. The stars were gone, replaced by endless darkness. Only the faint red glow from the distant ships lit the void. Captain Ethan Cole stood on the bridge, his face pale under the dim emergency lights. The air felt heavy, like the ship itself was holding its breath. Nora sat at her console, staring at the screens that no longer showed anything real. The systems were still running, but every reading was wrong. The sensors showed no space, no distance, no time, just a single word flashing across every display. Threshold. Liam worked frantically to bring the engines back online. It's like the ship isn't moving, he said. No thrust, no drift. It's like we're stuck between places. Ethan watched the dark shapes of the lost ships floating outside. Some looked ancient, others almost new. All of them were silent. Are they trapped too? He asked quietly. Nora nodded. I think they've been here for centuries. Maybe longer. And now we're one of them, Liam said, his voice shaking. Ethan turned to face him. Not yet. There has to be a way out. Nora hesitated. Maybe the only way out is to close the threshold. Ethan frowned. How? The horizon logs said the field was created by energy drawn from human space, she said. If we overload that energy from our side, maybe it will collapse. Liam looked doubtful. Or it'll destroy us completely. Maybe, Ethan said. But if we stay here, we're already dead. He took a deep breath and looked at his crew. Prepare for a full core overload. Manual sequence. No remote controls. Nora and Liam exchanged a glance, then nodded. They knew what it meant. As they worked, the voice returned. It echoed softly through the ship, calm and emotionless. You cannot close the threshold. It is open because you wished it. Ethan looked around. We didn't wish for this. You searched for what lies beyond, the voice said. You feared the silence. Now you are part of it. Nora whispered, Captain, it's everywhere. It's inside the systems again. Ignore it, Ethan said. Keep working. But the voice grew louder. You were warned. Others came before you. They opened the door and we welcomed them. You will join them soon. Liam slammed his hand on the console. We're not joining anyone. The lights flickered violently. The red glow outside began to move, forming shapes that twisted and pulsed like living shadows. The lost ships turned slowly, their hulls cracking and reshaping as if something inside was alive. Nora stared in horror. They're changing. Focus, Ethan shouted. Core status. Ready for manual ignition, Liam said. Do it. Liam pulled the lever. The ship trembled as the reactor's hum deepened. The glow of the core spread through the walls, turning the floor beneath them bright white. Alarms wailed. Nora's voice was shaky. Power levels rising fast. 90%, 95. Ethan braced himself. Hold steady. Outside, the red light flared. The lost ships began to move toward them, their engines blazing with the same unnatural glow. The voice came again, louder now, echoing through every speaker and every wall. You cannot end what has no end. We'll see about that, Ethan said through gritted teeth. Now, Nora. She hit the final switch. The reactor roared. Light flooded every corner of the ship, blinding and pure. The Aurora shook violently as the overload triggered. For a moment, it felt like the universe itself cracked open. Then came the silence. When Ethan opened his eyes, everything was still. The alarms were gone. The hum had stopped. Outside the window, the red glow was fading. The lost ships were motionless again, their light extinguished. And slowly, faintly, stars began to reappear. Captain, Nora whispered. We did it. Liam checked the readings. The thresholds collapsing. We're free. Ethan felt the tension leave his chest. Good work. Get us back to human space. Liam nodded and started the engines. The Aurora turned slowly, its nose pointing toward the distant stars of home. The ship began to move, slow but steady. But as the stars grew brighter, Nora noticed something strange on her console. Captain, there's a signal following us. What kind of signal? Ethan asked. Same frequency as before, she said softly. But it's weak, like an echo. Liam looked at her. From the threshold? Nora hesitated. No. From us. Ethan frowned. Explain. She turned the screen toward him. The signal wasn't coming from outside, it was being transmitted from inside the Aurora. And embedded within it was a single message. We remember you. Ethan stared at it for a long time. Shut it down, he said quietly. Nora nodded, but when she tried, the system didn't respond. The message stayed on the screen, pulsing softly in rhythm with the ship's engines. The Aurora continued its slow journey back toward the light of human space. Behind them, the darkness of the threshold folded in on itself and vanished. But in the heart of the ship, deep within the systems, a faint red glow flickered once, and then went still.